Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, records 212 new cases of coronavirus infections. Petroleum Products Marketing Company increases petrol depot price. In international news, coronavirus returns to Europe with a vengeance, traumatizes European citizens. And in sports, Nigerian Basketball Federation concludes plans for zonal referees training course ahead of new season.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has confirmed 212 COVID-19 cases in 16 states on Thursday. The health agency also reported Nigeria has so far tested nearly 700,000 persons since the first confirmed COVID-19 case was announced in February. With the new figures, total number of infected persons in the country has risen to nearly 65,000. 53 persons were discharged and no death was recorded in the country in the previous 24 hours. As usual, Lagos State recorded the highest number of confirmed infections with 71, while Imo and Plateau each recorded 26 infections. The Federal Capital Territory had 19 new cases. Petroleum Products Marketing Company, a subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, has increased the ex-depot price of premium motor spirits or petrol by 7 naira per litre. With the increase, pump price will now also rise to about 168.5 naira per litre, going by previous adjustments. Ex-depot price is the rate at which PPMC sells petrol to marketers, who in turn sell at a margin after factoring in other costs. The new price takes effect today, Friday. Some 7 and past lawmakers have kicked against a bill that seeks to establish an agency for the rehabilitation of repentant Boko Haram members. The lawmakers described the bill as needless, a waste of resources, and misplaced priority. They also questioned the nationality of the insurgents. The bill, titled National Agency for the Education, Rehabilitation, De-radicalization and Integration of Repentant Insurgents in Nigeria, was introduced in the Senate on Thursday. The repentant insurgents were said to have been exposed to formal literacy classes, skills acquisition, and Islamic religious knowledge, as well as drug and psychotherapy during their training. A group of Borno elders, led by former Governor Kashim Shettima, frowned at the initiative last year, while many individuals and civic groups have also argued that the bill will breed more insurgents if passed. The fear releasing the purported repentant Boko Haram militants into civilian population could be counterproductive, as hardened fighters could return to the terror group to commit more atrocities. Although Nigeria is the largest producer of ginger in Africa and the 7th largest in the world, the country is yet to fully penetrate the global ginger markets because of its inability to export value-added products. But the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment, Dr. Nasiru Gwazo, has advised the Ginger Association of Nigeria to come up with ambitious targets that would enable Nigeria to become a leading exporter of the product. Respondent Kelechi Mekalam has the details.
It's harvest season here at this ginger farm in Nigeria's northwestern state of Kaduna. Monday Agodo has spent 3 decades of his life farming ginger. Each harvest earns him an average $7,000. Despite the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic this year, production has not been affected.
We make our harvests in October and November, and as you can see, we are now digging out the ginger. Ginger farming is very profitable. The last time we sold 30,000 naira, and I can make an average of 80 to 100 bags depending on the efforts I put in.
COVID-19 did not have any significant effect on the farmers at the grassroots. The farmers went into massive production of ginger this last or immediate past farming season.
Nigeria is Africa's leading producer and third largest exporter of ginger after India and China. The country's revenue from ginger exports in 2019 hit $10.4 million. Ginger grown here in Nigeria is highly sought after in the international market due to its medicinal value. So farmers like Monday want to boost production and benefit more from the international market that's worth billions of dollars.
We have plans to expand, but ginger is very, farming of ginger, cultivating, farming is very capital intensive and needs so much of input, and that's why you find that it's quite difficult for people to farm ginger in large scale, like say 10,000 hectares, 100,000 hectares, because the input in maintaining the farm is quite capital intensive.
Ginger is one of Nigeria's cash crops with the potential of taking over the international market, but a string of challenges such as insecurity fueled by farmers' herders' crisis and the non-execution of policy frameworks are hampering output. Key players in the industry are calling for a quick government intervention to encourage exports of the value-added products to accelerate its growth.
Coming up, African stories. South Africa discovers new gas reserves in Western Cape. And later, international news. Coronavirus returns to Europe with a vengeance, traumatizes citizens.
You are watching ANN. Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you'll need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, African News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. The Western Cape and South Africa's oil and gas production ambitions have been boosted by news that French petroleum company Total has made a significant discovery of natural gas in the Western Cape, a few kilometers off Musi Bay. Mineral Resources and Energy Minister Gwede Antashe says this discovery will be a game changer. Respondent Travis Andrews reports.
It's the second new gas discovery by Total, and like the first, the Outeniqua Basin continues to show a significant amount of good quality extractable gas. Discovered more than 170 kilometers off the coast of Mossel Bay at the Lipet well, the find is within close proximity to last year's equally significant discovery of gas at the Brilpada well. The find has been widely welcomed as an encouraging sign of the significant potential of South Africa's offshore gas reserves.
Total's discovery, especially in South Africa, where most people had written off and most people have thought you wouldn't find the big finds like in Mozambique or Angola, it gives a lot of hope. And it also gives a lot of hope for South Africa at a time where, if you look at the domestication of gas, and the climate change, the change from gas to power, it gives us hope. And it also talks about world-class, there are still world-class discoveries, there are still world-class oil and gas plays.
Last year, Total and its partners made their first discovery of gas in the region, with an estimation of around 1 billion barrels of oil equivalent. Now their return has once again paid off. The drilling campaign may be carried out in a largely frontier area, but the stakes are high and the returns potentially even higher.
It's a great find, particularly because it confirms South Africa like an oil and gas province, a viable oil and gas province, and also because it moves directly towards supporting South Africa's quest for gas to power as a solution for South Africa's power problems.
And the monetization of the gas will be critical to the country's long-term energy transition strategy. The exploration of the resource will allow South Africa not just to sustain its own power needs, but also other African countries wanting to follow a cleaner path to new forms of energy.
The big thing you've got to look at is you look to the future. You say, good, how am I going to create a gas hub that can be based in South Africa and still monetize gas that can power Zimbabwe, power Botswana, power Lesotho, and power even Zambia and all the neighboring countries, because you have a 300 million SADC market, which power is a big issue. So learning how to use that gas to power the neighboring countries.
For now, work continues assessing the important data collected on the reserve, which may help development studies and facilitate engagement with South African authorities about the groundwork for the commercialization of the gas.
Just about a year ago, the world celebrated an event in the Democratic Republic of the Congo that was thought to spell political stability in the country. The coalition government that ensued after the president secured less than the majority in the election is now in jeopardy. Correspondent Chris Okamringa reports.
DRC President Felix Tshisekedi signed a power-sharing deal with his predecessor Joseph Kabila last year after he failed to get a majority in parliament. The deal paved the way for the formation of a government. But members of the ruling coalition, composed of Kabila's Common Front for Congo and Tshisekedi's Cap for Change party, have disagreed over several issues. Their differences have now come to a head, prompting President Tshisekedi to call for national consultations with political, religious, and opinion leaders.
President Tshisekedi was open and is still open to work with anyone. And that was the design, for the country's sake, to go forward. However, the other party, it was not the case. And I think they really had malicious ideas. Trying really not to lift up the country, but really to sink it, and with the president with it.
But members of Kabila's coalition have dismissed the accusations leveled against them.
Our colleagues are using the Common Front for Congo as a scapegoat for all of the failures of the government. In reality, we haven't blocked any project. The key obstacle that the president is facing comes from his entourage. His inner circle has many people who have no idea about running public affairs.
Congolese citizens, fed up with the bickering in the ruling coalition, expressed their support for the president's initiative by marching along the streets of the capital Kinshasa on Saturday.
We believe the time has come for our leaders and political actors to design new ways to govern our country for the good of all people.
We are not interested in the FCC, CACH or the Lamuka coalition. All we want is good policies that will enable us to live better lives.
The ongoing talks initiated by the president seek to get views from Congolese citizens about setting up a new political outfit known as the Sacred Union. The union is supposed to replace the ruling coalition that's been beset by differences among its leaders. The national consultations held by President Tshisekedi have sparked a lot of anger among members of Joseph Kabila's coalition, FCC. The coalition holds the majority in parliament and the Senate. Its top leadership has held a series of meetings and made it clear that they won't take any plans to break up the coalition lying down.
The United Nations Children Agency UNICEF and the World Health Organization WHO have raised an alarm The millions of children are at risk of not being vaccinated against polio and measles because of the coronavirus, especially in Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation. The agencies issued a joint statement on Wednesday in Abuja saying it is essential to address the global COVID-19 pandemic, but other deadly diseases such as polio and measles also threaten the lives of millions of children in some parts of the poorest parts in the world. The two organizations say there has been a global resurgence of measles, with epidemics underway in all regions of the world in recent years. Gaps in immunization coverage have been further exacerbated in 2020 by COVID-19. The world agencies have called for urgent action by global donors and policymakers.
When we return, international news. Coronavirus returns to Europe with a vengeance, traumatizes citizens. And later, sport. Nigerian Basketball Federation concludes plans for zonal referees training course.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. The resurgence of the new coronavirus in many European countries that had fought to bring it under control has begun to stress many Europeans. The United Kingdom is one of those countries whose citizens are feeling the drama. Correspondent Nawid Jabakir reports from London.
Because of England's national lockdown, 74-year-old Derry Roberts and I are meeting outside her London home. I was last here in early March when the world was a very different place, and where Derry, a retired nurse, told me about her readiness to go back on the front line to fight COVID. A few weeks later, her husband David died from the disease. He's one of 50,000 people in the UK who've now officially lost their lives to the virus.
But I was able to get him to say goodbye. If I hadn't have been able to do that, I dread to think what state I'd be in.
And you've been married a long time?
49 years. So it's sort of half of me. But it takes ages to feel better.
While some people have paid the ultimate price, others are having to live with coronavirus. Claire Hasty got it back in March. 8 months later, she's still feeling the effects.
It's hugely restricted my ability to do anything. I've barely left the house in that time. I can barely walk I can walk about 100 meters very slowly and pausing for breath every few paces. So I have to use a wheelchair to do anything more than that. So it's been life-changing.
Thousands of others have also reported symptoms that last longer and are more diverse than the official guidance suggests. Many are finding help online. The Long COVID support group founded by Claire on Facebook now has more than 30,000 members, mostly in the US and Britain. 50,000 deaths is a somber milestone for the UK and one of the highest death tolls of any country in the world. Despite widespread criticism of its handling of the virus, the government insists it's done all it can to prevent any of those and says it's now better prepared to deal with a second wave that's seeing around 20,000 cases every day. But for Derry and thousands of others who've lost loved ones, they wonder whether officials could have acted sooner to better prepare the country to fight COVID.
He was an intelligent, very intelligent man, and a scientist. And he said, I could have done with another couple of years. And I thought, there's no answer to that, is there? You know, there's no answer.
Just one casualty of this deadly pandemic that's caused similar suffering around the world.
Just like the United Kingdom, Italy's case is even more distressing after it was shaken by COVID-19 earlier this year, becoming the world's worst hit country. It fought back and defeated the virus, or so it thought at the time. Now coronavirus is back, hitting hard again in Lombardy, a city terribly ravaged earlier this year. Correspondent Alex Fraser reports.
It's a grim development for a country that was the first in Europe to be hit by the pandemic and then seemed to have it under control. Almost a third of Italy's 1 million cases have been concentrated in this region, Lombardy. So how did we get here? The first Italian cases were detected in the town of Codogno back in February. Throughout March, the worst affected province was Bergamo, also in Lombardy. Thousands died there as the virus spread quickly before a national lockdown was able to have an effect. As that lockdown was eased in May, businesses reopened with social distancing and reduced capacity. Italians were once again free to move around the country. Things looked like they were improving across the summer months. Testing increased, with mandatory tests for some arrivals at Italian airports. Summer is traditionally a quieter time in major cities as Italians head for the mountains or the coast. But by September, many had returned to work, and public transport in cities like Milan were returning to something near full capacity. Within weeks, cases began to surge again, with Milan recording the highest infection rates in the country. Now with increased testing, daily infection numbers are dwarfing the peak from the spring, and nationally they're more than doubling every week. There are queues outside some hospitals, and the whole country is under curfew during the evenings, something that sparked protests and some violence in parts of the country. Italy now has a tiered system for regions, and within days of it taking effect, some areas are already moving into higher levels of restrictions and even lockdowns. Today's milestone won't be symbolic for most Italians, however the rising second wave of cases is deeply worrying for a nation that has lost so many people already this year.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has called for a global coordination to fight COVID-19 and revive economies. The Chinese leader was addressing the first Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit virtually from Beijing.
At the first ever virtual summit for the SCO, Xi Jinping made an urgent call for cooperation among all nations, as COVID has infected more than 51 million people worldwide and is showing no signs of easing.
Let's uphold the Shanghai spirit, cooperate sincerely, and forge ahead to promote greater development for the organization and build a closer community with a shared future.
Xi stressed China cannot develop without the rest of the world, promising China will play a positive role in the global race to a vaccine and help to safeguard the WHO's leading role in the fight against the virus. Reviving the economy was another major topic at the SCO summit. Xi said he believed the Belt and Road Initiative would band countries together to navigate this stormy global environment together and build closer regional cooperation. He highlighted the digital economy, e-commerce, and artificial intelligence as key areas of focus to restart world trade, as the collapse of traditional travel has impeded deal-making. For its part, the Chinese economy grew by 4.9% in the third quarter, and the International Monetary Fund predicts China will become the only major economy to grow this year. The SCO was established in 2001 with aims to ensure security and maintain stability in the Eurasian region. It has 8 member states, along with a number of observer states and dialogue partners.
Up next, sport. Nigerian Basketball Federation concludes plans for zonal referees training course ahead of new season. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow this story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, Northeast Zone of the Nigeria Basketball Federation has concluded plans for a referees training course ahead of the new basketball season. The training starting tomorrow, Friday, will include participants from Adamawa, Gombe, Borno, Taraba, Yobe, and Bauchi states. One of Nigeria's elite and FIBA-batched referees, Kingsley Ojaburu, will be joined by Olaiwola Animi and Ikuomola Afolabi as resource persons. Barcelona will sue Neymar for 10.2 million euros that they believe they overpaid the Brazilian during his time at the club. Neymar enjoyed a successful spell at Barca between 2013 and 2017 before joining Paris Saint-Germain for 222 million euros, a world record fee. Spanish newspaper El Mundo confirmed an inspection from the tax office in Spain showed Barcelona did not make the appropriate reductions when paying Neymar's taxes. The tax office in Spain calculates Neymar benefited from unfair enrichment. The club now seeks to reclaim the amount they are owed. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a great weekend.